Demand avoidance might seem like a made-up concept or an excuse to get out of doing something that you don't want to do, but I can assure you it's a very real experience that has very real consequences, especially for the autistic community. I want to share a little bit about what demand avoidance is, and then one simple thing you can do to outsmart it whenever it shows up. Here's a definition of demand avoidance from pdasociety.org.uk. Demand avoidance involves not being able to do certain things at certain times, either for yourself or others, and also refers to the things we do in order to avoid demands. Autistic people may avoid demands or situations that trigger anxiety or sensory overload, disrupt routines, involve transitioning from one activity to another, and activities or events that they don't see the point of or have any interest in. I love how that's worded. They may refuse, withdraw, shut down, or escape in order to avoid these things. Now, this is so important to understand how demand avoidance affects autistic people, because this isn't just us not wanting to do something. Whenever we're presented with a demand, oftentimes it can feel like a threat. It can immediately cause this sense of overwhelm and fear because it's disrupting a routine that is bringing comfort to us. You know, if there's a random demand placed on us, your mom says, hey, time to set the table, but you're right in the middle of a level that you want to beat on the game that you're playing, it immediately feels like a threat. A lot of times it's not even that we don't want to do what we're being asked to do, it's the way that we're being asked to do it. It's interrupting something that we are focused on, or it's disrupting a routine that was creating some sort of comfort or structure for us. Or like the definition said, if we don't see the point of it or don't have an interest in it, why? Understanding the why behind something is very important for autistic people. It's also important to understand with demand avoidance, this is not just your mom asking you to do your homework. This is not just your boss asking you to hit the deadline. Demands come in all shapes and sizes. Some examples of demands you might not think of are traffic signs that you have to follow when you're driving, recipes that you have to follow in order for something to turn out right, ordering off of a menu, especially in a group situation. If somebody's waiting on you to make a decision, such a demand. Questions can feel like a demand. Laws, written instructions, verbal instructions. Demands are around us everywhere all the time. And as an autistic person, it can feel completely overwhelming. Now, everything that I'm sharing today, this is just a brief snippet of a much longer, super in-depth class that I feature on my website, and I'll put a link to that in the description. But I have a class over this and autistic inertia. So autistic inertia is another really important concept that goes hand in hand with this concept of demand avoidance. So check that link out in the description if you're interested in doing an autistic deep dive on this subject, because I've already done it for you. Okay, so how can we outsmart demand avoidance whenever it shows up? Because a lot of times it's really inconvenient. And sometimes it's embarrassing. If you're at work and your boss asks you to do something and you have a shutdown or a meltdown, it's embarrassing. So one simple thing that we can incorporate to deal with this demand avoidance is creating more autonomy in our lives. Autonomy is the ability to have a say over what happens, over what gets done, over what you say yes or no to. So any way you can create autonomy, this is especially true for autistic children, it can really help switch something in our brain so that it feels less of a threat and more of an opportunity. One way that I do this with my children in the morning is I've created a checklist of things that need to be done. You know, put your snack in your backpack, fill up your water bottle, grab a jacket, brush your teeth. They have a checklist. It's laminated because laminating is fun, and also because we can erase it and reuse it every day. And so they get to decide which order they do everything in the morning. And then there's a reward after they finish their checklist. So rewards can come in handy as well. But this gives them the sense of control that, yes, they have to do these things, but they get to determine how and when, as long as they do it before we leave. And then there's that reward at the end. If you are a boss or employer, could you work it out so that your employee could choose the project they're working on? Or could you frame it in different ways and then ask them, hey, could you create a timeline of when you think you could get this done? And then obviously they might not get the final say in that, but they at least have the ability to think through what would work for them and present an idea. And then you could collaboratively work on that and come to a decision. So creating options, giving choices whenever possible to yourself or to others if you're in a supervisor role or parenting role, these are all things that can be helpful. Okay, so how do we deal with trickier situations like taking the trash out? That's not really an option, right? I think for me, what helps is the way that I go about thinking about that, right? So I actually don't have to take the trash out. I could leave it inside of my house and it could get gross and really smelly, which is immediate sensory overwhelm, right? I don't actually have to take the trash out. I don't. But I get to because I pay for waste removal services at my house, and someone else does that dirty work for me of removing things that smell bad from my house and getting them far away. So for me, it's reminding myself, actually, I do have a choice whether or not I take the trash out. Do I want to face the consequences of what happens if I don't? Like I said, this is just a brief snippet of so much I have to say about this topic. I will put a link to my class in the description if you're interested in checking that out. And rather than imposing a demand and asking you to like this video, subscribe to the channel, I will just let you know that if you choose to like the video, that helps my content show up more easily for other people like you and me who are looking for resources to better understand life on the spectrum. And if you choose to subscribe to the channel, it makes it easier for you to be notified when I create new things. I'll leave you with that. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you in the next video, I guess, if you choose to watch it.